What's up, agents, and welcome back to another Division video. This one is going to be all about those juicy drops that you get in the game that we call god rolls, but there's also a huge problem with that as well in the game right now. And I thought this is going to be a great video for us all to have a bit of a community discussion down below in the comments. Let me know what you think, and it'd be interesting to get everybody's views and see really if they're the same as mine or not, because I've not really heard this angle before, and I'm just wondering if I'm alone when I think this or if you'll actually think it as well. Before we get into it though, don't forget to like, share, comment and subscribe, and consider joining the channel. Thank you for all your support recently, agents. You are awesome, and let's get straight into it. Right, so I'm going to now show off my inventory a little bit. I've played the Division for a long time, and actually what I'm going to do, I'm going to go into the targeted loot menu first of all, and talk about newer gear that we've got to the game. So a lot of these sets here, these brand sets, we've had for a long time, and this rant or discussion really is about brand sets. Now recently we've had Usina, we've had Brazos, we've had HG, we've had Electric, we've had Lengmore, and very recently we had Palisade added to the game. Some of these are better than others, some of them are pretty versatile, some of them are not, and even more so, the Division has tried to make these more relevant by boosting the bonuses that brand sets get. Now overall that really didn't make too much of a difference to the game. Your go-to was always hunters and strikers still, and it still very much is for your day-to-day, aside from healer builds, tanks, very specific raid builds and things like that. There's nothing wrong with a high-end build, just, I love a good high-end build as much as the next Division agent, but I'm just kind of saying your go-to, your more powerful is gear sets, and that kind of branches away from what I'm talking about. So let's get back to talking about high-ends. Now, there is a huge problem in the game right now when it comes to these brand new brand sets, and I'm going to tell you why. So if I go over to this bench here, my inventory is full. So that's a really bad example. I put a lot of examples in my gear so that I could kind of go through them and show you. But what I'm going to do very quickly is let me just dump a holster out that I'm not using right now. There we go. Let's dump out that Araldi holster, and we're gonna go to the bench. I'm gonna craft one of them brand new sets, right? So we'll go to chest here, and a chest that I've been after for a long time, or since it came out, is a Longmore chest. I'm after crit chance, crit damage, and glass cannon, for instance, right? So I'm going to craft that. And this is the piece of junk that I've just got, right? So this set always rolls with the core attribute of armor, meaning the piece that I want to get is actually pretty unicorn. Unicorns in this game now are absolutely huge. Health, weapon handling, and Overwatch as a talent. Nowhere near the piece that I wanted. I need crit chance, crit damage, and I need glass cannon so that I can roll the core attribute to weapon damage. So as you can see here, I've hit a bit of a dilemma. That is a really hard piece to find. It's god tier. And when I say god tier, we're going to have a quick look in my inventory here, and I'm going to show you a few things. For instance, I've got the named piece. Now a little bit easier to get because it can only roll with this talent. This would kind of be the mid god tier that I would talk about, because you only need 2 things to be correct, not 3. But then if I scroll further down, the HG one, again, mid god tier, it's the named one. The closer one, this was kind of one of the first ones that came out that was like, yes, we need to get this crit chance, crit damage, because Perfect Spotter is actually pretty good. Then we get the Combustor, again, mid god tier, because it's got a talent, a named talent. And then we start moving into ones that are a little bit harder. For instance, this one, the HG chest. Now probably with the best sniping chest piece in the game, Headhunter, but you've got to get it to roll with headshot damage. Now it doesn't have to be weapon handling here. This one's a bit easier when it comes to god tier rolls, but this is hard to get, very hard to get. Weapon handling, headshot damage, Headhunter. It's practically insane. The Hunter Killer, again, we've not seen one of these from Cassie in a long time, but if you've got the blueprint at the bench, it's not the hardest to get, but still pretty difficult. We scroll down even more and we come to this bad boy, which I talked about a lot on my channel recently, because you've got to get crit chance, crit damage, intimidate. I scroll down again, you know, the one that I've got on, you know, crit chance, crit damage, obliterate. Really hard pieces to get. And you know, this Bellstone chest here, you've got to get crit chance, crit damage, obliterate. I championed 2-piece Bellstone for a long time, but it's really hard to get when it comes to chest pieces and backpacks. And then we're not even touched on the problem that I want to talk about yet, because this expands not just with chest pieces, it expands into your backpacks. So if we go to the backpacks, you can see here I can't get one at the moment with crit chance, crit damage and bloodsucker. If we scroll down, you can see that I've got an Arcanist cookbook, really hard to get, but it's perfectly wicked. So it's not the hardest to get, but it's hard to get because the main core attribute for it is armor, so it makes it hard to get. We've got the Armando, again, pretty hard to get if you want it all red. The HG backpack, this is insanely hard to get because you've got to get vigilance, weapon handling and headshot damage. You've got to get it correct. The Leviosa, pretty hard to get again, but it's got a named talent, so it's one of the easier ones. Again with Liquid Engineer, again, still not the most difficult, but it's pretty hard to get. A Palisade backpack with crit chance, crit damage, unstoppable force. Getting one that can roll core attribute of weapon damage, insanely hard to get. God tier wicked backpack here, crit chance, crit damage, wicked core attribute. I've managed to be able to roll it to red. So that's the same problem with all of these, right? The electric ones, they roll with core attributes. So if you want to use them for weapon damage or tank or anything like that, you have to get both the minor attributes and the talent to drop exactly as you want them. And anybody out there knows that is really hard. But herein lies the problem with that. We have not had an inventory or stash space update in a very long time. It's also been said on State of the Game with Yannick that technically it might actually not even be viable for Division 2 to have that kind of update. It's a huge job. There was a lot of complications around it, and they've pretty much said that actually stash space might actually be at the max that it's going to be. And therein lies the problem with the new sets that we are getting, in that we're not getting any extended space, which is bad enough because we're getting new gear, but because of the type of the gear that this is. So for instance, this, you know, the electric's a great example, or the Lengmo with LMG damage and stuff and things like that. You know, there's no reason why this couldn't be run as a red. The 3-piece bonus gives you SMG damage. If we went over to the Lengmo set, you know, 3-piece of this is actually really useful in some builds for the 30% LMG damage, but you're probably going to want them all to be red or blue, you know. And if you want to go all red, you create yourself a huge problem in the fact that, so old school ways of doing this would be, for instance, if I look at my Grupo backpack that I use all of the time, you would get one Grupo backpack with weapon damage, crit chance, crit damage, and you could then roll the talent to anything you want. This could be vigilance, it could be bloodsucker, it could be unstoppable force. You only need one backpack to do this, and it's super cheap to re-roll this. And even now, what's really good is you can re-roll this on the fly. But now you're stuck in a situation where I have to have multiple of the same backpack. And in a perfect world, we'll take Palisade for instance right now, because that's what I'm working on. I want one with Wicked, I want one with Unstoppable Force, I want one perhaps with Adrenaline Rush, I want one with Bloodsucker, and I want one with Vigilance. That's 5 spaces just for one set, just for Palisade backpacks. And that's just brand sets only. That's crazy. That's absolutely, you imagine then I need 5 more for Longmore if I want to keep LMG builds up to date as well. Now, not everybody's a content creator, not everybody wants to have every single piece, but people are going to want, you know, one with perhaps Bloodsucker, one with a, you know, a heal, like a tanky type or a survivability talent, we'll call it, and then one with maybe, oh, actually, I'm in a group now. I've got a healer. I want one with a DPS talent. So they'll whack on Unstoppable Force. Well, that's dead easy when it came to my Group 4 backpack. But now when it comes to these new sets that are rolling with blue core attributes and yellow core attributes, it really does mean that you're going to have to store multiple of them if you want your core attribute and your attributes to be lined up to whatever activity it is you're doing. If they want these sets to be usable, we've got to be able to store them, and we've got to be able to have space to do that. And it's a huge problem. And the only way I could ever see them ever getting around it, and this is a pretty spicy thing for me to say, is that we would be able to roll these pieces twice. So the core attribute and the attributes count as one roll, and the talent have its own roll, you know, so that we could always roll the talent to completely separate. But that kills a lot of the grind. Now, 5 years in, are we so bothered about that? We've just received Danny Weaver. He now gives us max rolls as well. It looks like he gives us max rolls 3 times a week, which is pretty insane. Are we maybe moving to that part like, you know, Division 1 did, its end of its life, re-rolling and things like that? They made them, you know, purposely a little bit easier. But if we're not going to get stash space, there really is going to need to be something that we can do that means that we're not going to have to store 2, 3, 4, 5 of the same backpack just for different situations. You know, like with the Group 1, I only need 1, and I can re-roll that now on the fly. They've made that really easy. We don't have to go to the bench for that. We could do it mid-mission if we wanted to. That's absolutely superb. But, you know, these other ones and these new sets that are coming out, nobody wants to use them anyway. They're very like, I'll just use hunters, I'll just use strikers. But because they're so insanely hard to get the versions that we want, and then when we get there, we've got to store multiple versions. It just gives us multiple issues. I am not complaining. I don't want this to come across as I am complaining that we're getting too much gear into the game. Gear at the moment is the only thing that's breathing fresh air into the game. We've no content coming into the game right now. We're waiting for that expansion that we cannot wait for. You know, that content, we're having to wait for that. We get the manhunts, we get the global events, we get all the stuff that we're usually getting, and that's great. But the gear really is the life of the game right now, so we need that gear influx to keep coming. I'm just kind of saying there needs to be some kind of solution to maybe my inventory not be sat at 147 and my stash be full, and my second character be full, and my third character be full, and my fourth character be full. You know, it's a great way, and the game needs to stick with it, because we're kind of looped in with it now, right? Because if we go into this section here, the expertise system, that's how we become more powerful. If they stop adding gear, we don't become any more powerful, and the game gets stale really quickly. And you kind of full circle to the point where we're back to where these new sets are going to be causing us more of a problem. That's going to be it. I kind of wanted to get this out there. I wanted to kind of create a community discussion around it. Let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe somebody at Massive might pick up on it. I'm going to mention this as feedback, because as the game gets older and older and older, and they seem, you know, really into releasing more gear sets. You know, every main patch, more gear sets, more brand sets, which is great. I don't want that to stop. But storage is really going to become a problem. And then we've got this added issue now that it's not just as simple, because that, you know, they're very highly favoring not just releasing red gear sets for DPS now. Like, everything's very mixed, and you know, this is causing its own problem now as well as when it comes to stash space. Anyway, I have ranted now for 14 minutes. That is way too long for a tickle video. But if you're still here, don't forget to like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's start a community discussion around this. Maybe come up with, you know, some solutions. Some, you know, I said about obviously the double roll on a piece of gear. Maybe that double roll just applies to backpacks and chests, because they've got talents. Everything else stays the same. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Like, share, comment, subscribe, and consider joining if I've not said it already. I've ranted that much, I forgot what I've said. And if you need a community Discord, you'll find my link in the description down below, just to find a lot of cool agents that like playing Division, especially if you need some help. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye.